Mr. President.
The senator from Oregon.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that my intern, Shelby Stepper, be granted privileges of the floor for the balance of the day.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise today to address a topic that is vital to seniors in Oregon and to seniors across our nation, and that is our Medicare program. I know how important Medicare is because I grew up in a blue-collar, working family. My dad was a millwright and a mechanic. He believed in hard work, and he took a lot of satisfaction from his job. A millwright is the individual who does all the mechanical work to keep the mill running. He said that if he did his job right, the mill was open, workers had a payday, and the company made money, and everyone was happy. Meanwhile, my mother managed the finances, and she stretched a dollar as far as anyone possibly could. She shopped for bargains. She used coupons. She collected green stamps. And they were able to save and to buy a home and have a foundation for raising their children. And I benefited from that enormously. But despite that foundation they had, their prospects in retirement were dependent upon two critical programs: Social Security and Medicare. Social Security and Medicare, a basic pension and affordable health care, are simply essential for millions of working families in retirement. They're the difference between poverty and stability. Now, the way I see it, Medicare is a covenant with our seniors. It's a covenant with the 650,000 Oregonians who are on Medicare now. It's a covenant with the hundreds of thousands who will utilize Medicare in the years to come. It's certainly a covenant with the millions across America who depend on this essential family. Those working families across America are families like my parents who worked hard their whole lives. They paid into Medicare, and they expect Medicare to be there for them when they retire. We cannot break that covenant. And the first step in keeping faith with our seniors is this: protecting what works. Pretty simple. You would think that that is a no-brainer. But in fact, in Washington, a simple proposition like this, a no-brainer, is sometimes enormously controversial. For several years now, many in Washington here, and including this chamber, they have been pushing to privatize, to voucherize, or to just plain weaken Medicare. They don't understand how important this program is for the secure retirement of our seniors. They don't understand how important this covenant is between each working generation and our retirees. In fact, the House of Representatives has repeatedly voted to effectively end the Medicare program that Americans know and love, and to stick our seniors with an enormous financial burden in their retirement years. There's just a simple way to describe that, and that is to say it is simply wrong. Now, others have said, let's raise the Medicare retirement age to age 67 or perhaps 70. Now, I think when I hear that about my town halls. In my town halls, and I hold one in every county every year, people come and talk about whatever they would like. And I'll tell you, I recall this woman coming to my town hall, and she said, "Senator, I'm in my early 60s. I have several major health problems," and she went on to describe them. And she said, "I'm just trying to stay alive until I can make it to age 65 and have access to Medicare." And that theme of just trying to make it until they can reach that Medicare age, I've heard in town hall after town hall. No, and sometimes those who work in offices in comfy circumstances don't realize how much actual physical labor takes a toll on the body. If you're working in the post office and you're moving bags of mail day in and day out, as one good friend of mine has done throughout his career, it's very likely you're going to have a bad back, and so on and so forth. And then there are, of course, the diseases that strike like lightning. And yes, those who happen to have jobs with corporations that provide a wonderful health care program, well, they're in a little better shape. But for our seniors, Medicare is a gem they've contributed into their entire life, and it needs to be there for them. So for some who see the difference between 65 and 67 as some modest administrative change, for working America, it's a monumental chasm, and they fear falling into it. The good news is that there's a very simple action the U.S. Senate could take right now to protect our covenant with our seniors. The Medicare Protection Act, which I have co-sponsored, along with Senator Pryor and others, makes three modest but important changes to our law. It expresses a sense of the Senate that the Medicare eligibility age should not be increased. It expresses a sense of the Senate that the Medicare program should not be privatized or voucherized. And third, it amends the Congressional Budget Act so that any attempt to reduce or eliminate guaranteed benefits or to restrict eligibility criteria, like raising the eligibility age, cannot be passed through the budget reconciliation process. This is particularly important since the House has made repeated attempts to end Medicare as we know it, and to do so using the budget process, the Ryan budget, rather than through standalone legislation. Mr. President, it's time to ensure that we keep our covenant with our seniors. It's time to bring this bill to the floor, to debate it, and to pass it. Now, tomorrow happens to be the anniversary on which Medicare was signed into law, 49 years ago. Maybe a great way to celebrate the 49th birthday of Medicare would be for this chamber to debate this bill tomorrow and pass it. If not tomorrow, I'd like to see it done in this work period. And if not in this work period, let's come back and address this in September. The days that are left in this 2-year cycle of the U.S. Senate are rapidly disappearing. And our seniors are concerned about this constant attack, this constant effort to undermine these programs like Social Security and Medicare that they have paid into throughout their life and that they expect to be honored when they are retired. So, Mr. President, let's bring this bill to the floor. Let's ensure that American seniors can stop worrying about these assaults on their retirement, the retirement security that they so much deserve. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.